They say that only two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. But now it seems that the number of koala species is also joining this dubious club. The discovery was made during a genetic study which revealed that Queensland koalas are actually two distinct groups of animals with different evolutionary histories. Some 46 million acres of land went up in flames, an area twice the size of England. In terms of animal casualties, experts estimate that at least 1 billion creatures perished in the fires, including an untold number of koalas. So far, so good, but this revelation raised the risk of extinction for both species. One of the newly described species was already on the brink of extinction. These are the two Queensland koalas that we know of today. But until the recent wildfires, they were able to maintain a large, continuous population because they were constantly on the move. Entire forests were wiped out, and the koalas were forced to flee to the remaining patches of vegetation. And they say that unless something is done to protect the habitat of these creatures, their extinction is all but guaranteed. Unfortunately, Australia has never ratified the Convention on Biological Diversity, which aims to protect endangered species. So scientists are appealing to the government to make an exception in this case. Otherwise, by 2050, there is a high chance that this particular koala will become the first victim of climate change in Australia, which were often many miles away. Unable to find their preferred eucalyptus, some koalas died. Others formed small groups with similar dietary preferences, which eventually evolved into separate species. See, koalas need to eat eucalyptus leaves, but not just any kind. Each koala species has its own favorite type of eucalyptus, and there are many such trees in Australia. This means that koalas are always on the lookout for new food sources, and this behavior keeps them moving. One lives in the south and numbers around 50,000 individuals. The other is a critically endangered species, numbering only around 8,800 individuals, who live in a small area of forest in the center of the continent. Its population numbered no more than 100 individuals, all living in a small area of forest in the north of Queensland. After all, we are all part of the ecosystem, and losing any of its inhabitants has a detrimental effect on the whole system. So let us hope that the Australian authorities take the plight of the koalas to heart before it is too late. And by 2022, it became clear that even those 100 or so koalas were gone. The species was wiped out. One of them, the northern koala, could already be extinct. On October 23, 2020, scientists announced they'd found a new species of koala. The thing is, these guys have been fighting for survival since 2019. That's when Australia started to burn. In the midst of the disaster, scientists from the University of Queensland launched a rescue operation to save the northern koala. They were capturing koalas in the wild and bringing them to a special wildlife hospital that had been set up at the university. The genetic testing revealed that the koalas they were trying to save didn't quite match the local population. What's going on? Had the koalas somehow managed to leave the country in the nick of time? Turned out that they'd been brought to the hospital from all over Queensland? That meant that the genetic study conducted back in 2020 was unexactly representative of the actual situation on the ground. Their vets were performing endoscopy procedures on the animals to determine whether or not they had internal burns. However, the scientists soon realized that something was wrong. The scientists realized that they'd actually managed to save two species of koala, but that wasn't much cause for celebration. And the other species, previously known as the southern koala, has split into two separate populations that are unable to interbreed. But how did this happen? Scientists believe that both species evolved around 1 million years ago. However, the 2019 fires changed everything. But will they go extinct like their northern counterpart? Well, scientists think it's possible. Don't think for a second that this won't affect humans. If you want to know more about what we can do to prevent similar situations in the future, watch our video about the collapse of the American fishing industry.